The winter is finally starting to come to a close. It's almost springtime, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I've just been slothing for like the last, 2 months of this winter, just being inside, not doing much, playing Fortnite. So it feels good to have a little bit of spring weather. It's still a little cold, but it's getting warmer. And I haven't rode this thing for like forever, so feels good. Matt,
how are you liking the new setup?
Oh, it's beautiful. I really like the touchpad, actually. That was a surprise.
Ooh, you're trading the mouse for the touchpad?
Look, I attempted to use the old mouse, I attempted to use the new mouse, and now I'm onto the trackpad.
I gotta say, this looks a lot cleaner than your old setup.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot better.
So it's still gotta tidy up.
A little bit. Tyler,
Yo.
have you recovered from terminal velocity warp speed?
Barely. I have nightmares. I'm just warp speed.
Let's just run us through what you're thinking in that moment.
Oh, I was legitimately terrified for my life because I was going so fast, but I knew you needed the shot, so I'm trying to smile as if I'm having fun, but really, and you can see it in my face that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
You knew I was gonna fire you if you stopped filming.
Exactly, so I was like, oh, Matty's gonna kill me.
I gotta say, that's probably my favorite clip of the year in a long time. That's gonna forever live on this channel. That looks terrible. Something that's been on my mind more recently is money. Probably because I've spent so much money on stuff recently. And you might not realize it, but I spend a lot of time thinking about the whole business side of things versus just making and coming up with videos. I think a lot about business. Not so much because I care about money. I don't really need that much money. I'm not really a big spender. It might not look like that right now after the last few videos that I've made. I don't mind spending money on the business, but I don't really spend money on myself. I don't really buy new clothes. But if I'm gonna work really hard, then I want it to be worth it. I want to get the most out of my hard work. And that's probably why I think about the whole business side of things so much. And I fully believe there's no reason somebody should be a struggling artist in 2020, because nowadays we have so many opportunities to make a decent living out of whatever your creative craft is. Not saying it's easy, not saying that it's easy and it doesn't take a lot of work, but I don't think there's any excuse nowadays to be a struggling artist. That's just my opinion. Trying to figure out where to put this big scuba helmet. Right now it's on like just a C-stand, but I feel like I want to make like a cool little stand for it. The C-stand's not anyways, the key, I think, to getting out of this like kind of struggling artist cliche thing is maximizing your revenue streams. I've talked about this before, but man, you really need to take this advice and try to maximize your revenue streams as much as possible. But here are all of the ways that I have so far, especially in my beginner days. These are the ways that I made money as a filmmaker, and I think these apply to any photographer, graphic designer, pretty much any of the creative fields. I feel like all of these apply. You could do some version of these. One of the first ways that I actually got like a legitimate paycheck making films, this doesn't seem like the most obvious way nowadays, I feel like, especially in the creative fields, was just a normal salary job. When I think it was like 2012, I want to say, me and my brother reached out to this church and we're like, hey, do you guys need like videos to be made? And they hired both of us. We split a full-time salary, getting paid, I think it was $50,000 that we're splitting. So $25,000 each, kind of working essentially part-time because we were splitting a full-time salary. If you know a healthy amount, you've discovered how to make videos and you can prove yourself a little bit, I don't think it's that hard to get a job right now at a company just making their videos. Pretty much all companies nowadays are trying to do videos in-house instead of using some ad agency, which is really expensive. They're trying to bring more and more of that stuff in-house. So just reach out to your local, I don't know, company, paper mill, Dunder Mifflin. And it was great. We had a stable income coming in each month, and that gave us a great opportunity to experiment, to learn, and be making money at the same time while we worked for the church. And then the second way, well, actually, this is the first way that I first made money, but it wasn't that much, is freelancing. Freelancing, that's the obvious one. And it's actually a lot harder, I think, to get into than you think, because you need a whole bunch of these little connections to get these paying gigs, and it has to be stable. You can't just get one every few months. Like, you need to be getting these consistently. So it's not the easiest thing in the beginning. So what we did, and what I think works really well, is we had that salary job, that kind of part-time thing, full-time salary that we're splitting, and then we were also freelancing on the side. We made it very clear that we're going to be also freelancing. And so through that, we were able to, learn more. We were able to build connections, and then get into like kind of these different areas. It was wedding films, and then it was like event stuff, and then little corporate videos, a lot of internal videos that nobody really ever saw, but we were getting paid. We weren't being picky, and that's one of the key things. We were taking anything and everything. I literally remember one of the most random jobs was we filmed a massive tree in downtown Toronto being cut down. That was the gig for that day. We literally time-lapsed it and got B-roll of this huge tree being cut down. We just said yes to everything. We weren't being picky, and that's one of those big things. Again, maximizing your revenue streams. Don't just rely on, for example, music videos or this thing or that thing. Just do it all. And then once you have a ton of work coming in, then you can be more, selective when you have the luxury to do that. But don't make that mistake in the beginning to just say like, I don't want to shoot corporate videos. I'm not going to take that job. Just take it, suck it up, get paid, and then move on. And I think we were making around I'd say $2,500 Canadian per video, sometimes more, sometimes less, but that was, I think, on average. And then by the end of my wedding career, for example, I think I was getting $5,000-ish. Per wedding video, like a 5-minute highlight video. And I think one of the best places to start is wedding films, corporate films, event photography or videography. Those are kind of just there isn't a super high skill level that you need for those. So those are really easy jobs to get in the beginning, in my opinion, when you're just starting out. And then we should talk about passive income. Even if you're a beginner right now, passive income could be a thing for you. It's a hot topic, and a lot of times passive income isn't truly passive, but there are some actual passive incomes. For example, the first one that I ever played around with was stock footage. I put my footage on a site called Film Supply, and it was a great experience. It's truly passive. It's footage that I would have never used otherwise. It's just kind of sitting on hard drives, and so I just shipped it off to them, and they put it on their website. And I think on average, I've probably made $1,000 a month from that. I think the most I ever made was $7,500 American from stock footage, was just oh my gosh, that was insane. And the least I've probably made in a month is probably around $100. The problem is you don't really have control over, how much you're gonna sell, other than just putting more footage on there. But it's one of those things that even as a beginner filmmaker or photographer, 1 out of every 1,000 video clips or photos is going to be really, really nice. And so that maybe you can put on a stock site and make some money from it. The second passive income source for me was a teaching course. So I taught people how to shoot cinematic wedding films. And this was, again, before I had any audience on YouTube. And I put that out there. And I think I was averaging maybe around $600, $700 American on that per month. Again, another fully passive income source. Once, I think it took me a week or two to make. Once I made that, I put it online. I really didn't have to do anything. I did interact with people and comment on stuff, but I didn't need to do that. And that's an interesting thing. If you're a beginner filmmaker, you might not be super good at filmmaking yet, but maybe let's say you're really good at guitar, and so you could use those beginner filmmaking skills to make a course on how you play guitar. Even though it has nothing to do with filmmaking, you used your filmmaking skills to make a course that's passive income, and then, maybe people will watch that. Maybe people will take your course. And it was awesome having these passive income streams when I was freelancing. It kind of just filled in the gap apps and helped a little bit to make things more stable and more just, stress-free, because that's one of the biggest downsides of freelancing. You don't really know how much or if you're gonna get any work next month. And then we get to the big one, which is usually the one that people kind of jump to straight into nowadays, which I don't know if it's wrong or right, but that's usually what people go to, is having your own brand, your own social media following. And to me, this is probably the hardest one. It's so much work, and there's no guarantees on how fast things are gonna take off or if they take off. I think it's pretty guaranteed if you're gonna make good content, then it's gonna take off at some point, but it's a lot of work. It's not easy, I'm telling you, it is super hard. This is the hardest I've ever worked in my life. You would think that when I had the salary job and I was freelancing and doing passive, that's when I had, that's when I was working the most, but actually right now, this is the most I've ever worked in my life doing this YouTube channel thing, doing my own brand, social media. There is never an end to the work. But it is also the most rewarding in terms of freedom to do whatever you want creatively, and also I think it can be one of the best financially. I gotta change the battery. Battery's running out. We are back. But it is really, really incredible that nowadays, no matter what you're good at, you can make your own brand around that. You can get a social media following, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, and you can make your own brand and then you can monetize that. That is something that's like super new in society and history. You couldn't do that before. You needed somebody else, whether it was a record label or a big production company or an agency, to give you work. They had all the cards, they owned everything, and they gave you a piece of that, and you had to rely on that. Nowadays, you don't need any of that stuff. You can just do it all on your own, which is just like mind-blowing for us creatives. You're a graphic designer, you're a dancer, you're a musician, you like glass blowing, you can make a brand around that, especially if you're really good at that. It's easier than ever to do it all yourself. And again, if you do get this thing going, your own brand, the key is to maximize your revenue streams. You want AdSense, you want brand deals, you want affiliate links, you want merch, you want digital products, you want physical products, you want everything and everything. Start another business around it. You want to do everything you can without burning out and going crazy, but you want to maximize those revenue streams, because if you have 10 revenue streams that all bring in $100, that's a lot of money when you combine it all, and it's gonna start paying your bills really quickly. There is so much you can do when you have your own brand or your own following. So I do, pretty much everybody that I meet that's like some creative or trying to do things on their own, I'm like, oh, start a YouTube channel. Yeah. And like I just say it automatically because I know how powerful it is, but it's a lot easier said than done. But listen to me, there is no need for you to be a struggling artist. It takes hard work, it takes learning about business and finances and taxes and strategic decisions. You don't need to do what I've done, but if you're maximizing your revenue streams and you're going through all of these different things, I guarantee you can make a living from this. And that, to me, is how even a beginner can make money from their craft, whether it's filmmaking, photography, whatever it is. Sorry if I'm rambling, this is probably a terribly long video already. I'm just really passionate about this part because I hate seeing creative, super talented people taken advantage of, or people working super hard and they're just not really getting anywhere because they're not being so strategic about it. They don't understand the whole business side of things. And nothing makes me more happy than seeing creative people find their place and be able to make a full-time income from it so that they can just go full on into that thing, whatever that thing is, and not have to think about the money side of things all the time. So that's really, I think, how we should be thinking, is that like business leads to creativity. If you can figure out the business side, it's gonna enable you to be super creative. Whereas I think a lot of people think that creativity will then make the business, and I don't know if I fully agree with that. It's kind of back and forth. It's kind of a circle, but I feel like if you have the business side figured out, you can really start being creative and on your own terms. You don't have to, you know, wait for other people to give you those opportunities.
We did some moving around of things. Desk is now on this side and the couches are over here. And I think this is looking
Much better. I'm really excited with how things are turning out. We still got some things happening, but this is looking better. Anyways, it's time to head home and take advantage of this beautiful day. Maybe go out with Kai, Princess. It's a sign of getting old when you're groaning getting in the car. Feels good.
I miss you.
Look, I brought a drum home.
Whoa.
Should we go outside?
Yeah.
Let's go outside.
Looking cool. Okay, you ready to go?
Go fly.
Go fly.
Fly.
Kai, you warm in there? Are you gonna fall asleep? Don't fall asleep, buddy.
You did nap.
What a great day.